Hey guys! So I hope you're all doing well this week. Thanks for tuning in last week to Dinosh Bennett's episode. I hope you managed to get a few little nuggets of information or inspiration to take away with you. And don't forget to check her out on her social media pages at Dinosh Bennett. She posts daily about kind of health and lifestyle, and I think it's really inspiring. And who doesn't need a bit of inspiration, right? So this week I am chatting to Erika Noot, who is a Canadian vocalist, voice coach and co-owner of One Voice Vocal Studio. She has sung with nationally acclaimed artists and musicians in some of Canada's best venues and performs in the event band Uptown. She's also recently a certified vocal health first aider and a member of Vocology In Practice, a network of voice experts. Which I actually have been training with over the last 6 months as well, and I can't wait to become a certified coach. But myself and Erika actually met through Vocology In Practice at one of their seminars about 3 years ago, I think, in the UK. And although we didn't chat at the seminar, we kind of became friends on social media, and one day she posted that she was doing a workshop on extreme vocals, or singing with edge, I think it was called. So me having an interest in that, I decided to sign up, and from that I just liked her vibe. She's a real cool gal, and I decided to book in for some singing lessons with her as well. So I've been working with her now, I think, for about 6 months or so. But yeah, she's a cool girl, and I really enjoyed kind of sitting down with her and kind of spending a bit of time getting to know about her history and where she's come from as a musician, as a mom, as a voice coach, and all the rest. So enjoy the episode, guys, and let us know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
As a vocalist, my experience with theater was always that I wanted to sing more. So I was always, whenever I did a musical theater show, I was like, okay, like first, like what's the part and what do I get to sing in this show? And what I loved about musical theater too was it was always about a variety of genres. Like they always had, like it has influences of, like, depending on the musical, some would sound more jazz and some would sound more rock and roll, or more Disney, right? Like they always had these different sounds, and I was always so excited about how I could explore and use my voice differently in each show. And I think I just through singing in musicals, I realized how much that like the vocal aspect was so big to me, and how it was limited in my circle where the training was on how to achieve those different genres. So it was really coming at musical theater from a classical perspective. And so I was always like, okay, like there's got to be, like, why don't we know more about pop vocals? Why don't we know more about rock vocals? Like these are important for musical theater singers. And so I think that kind of sparked a desire to learn and to want to know more about my voice and know how to make these sounds. So there's this combination of an excitement about learning it and wanting to share, and then wanting to share what that was about. Because I'm like, hey, there is all this information out there. There are tools for us to sing all these different genres. And I think that was really why I focused on singing. And singing was always my passion first. Like even in musical theater, it's always been about the singing. So I think I did, like when I was younger, I did have this idea that like, oh, maybe when I'm older, I'll open up a theater school or something like that. But I just wasn't as passionate about some of the other aspects of theater as I was about singing. So I think once I had discovered my voice and really discovered that I could sing a variety of styles and I could teach a variety of styles, like it was really exciting to me. And so that's why I focused on teaching voice.
Yeah, because I remember, I don't know if you were at this one, but there was a musical theatre singer who I can't remember her name, Chris Johnson's partner, actually.
Oh, yeah. Natalie?
Is it Natalie? Yeah, I was going to say Natalie, actually, and I was like, I wasn't sure.
I don't remember. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Natalie.
I think she was talking about, or there was some workshop about like how tiring and musical theatre singing is, and like doing like long months of long shows, and you know, really demanding roles vocally and physically as well. And they were kind of talking about maybe there might have been a slight lack of support for singers who work in theatre. And I'm wondering, like, what kind of support was available as a theatre singer, someone who sung in musical theatre, to you when you were kind of engaged in that area?
Not much, really. I think there were plenty of private vocal coaches, so you could see a vocal coach, which is good. I think I just had found that most vocal coaches had which they should have, kind of a niche. They had a specific sound or thing that they focused on or worked on, but I found it lacking in the contemporary side of musical theater and the contemporary side of singing in general. So I think that was something where I was like, I think we need to cross these worlds together, because we had music schools where singers were learning contemporary music. And then we had musical theater where they're kind of learning an approach that was closer to classical and that type of traditional approach. And so there was no crossover between the two. And that was something that I was like, okay, like these are both excellent ways to address our voice, but let's figure out a way to connect the dots a little bit more and include all of these different things and put them together. So yeah, the resources, I mean, maybe I didn't know all the resources. I did find that there weren't many. there wasn't much out there for us to really feel prepared.
Yeah.
And even within stuff, like you could take a class here and there, you know, at a private dance studio or whatever to keep up, but it still never seemed like it was enough. So
it seems to be like a high demand, like a high expectation, you know, because especially because you're playing like character roles and stuff as well. So you're having to like distort your voice and change your voice into like different sounds, and like it sounds like that isn't taught. You're just kind of expected to like know, and then if it's not really being taught or being understood, then where's the vocal care come in, and like how do you look after your voice if you don't really know what's happening, you know?
Yeah, and I think there isn't much out there. I think the UK has a lot more resources, and I'm sure United States does too. I haven't found much here. For musical theater singers. I don't think it doesn't seem to be a priority in the health world. Even and this is kind of a tangent, but that's partly why I wanted to take that vocal health first aider course, was because I found like it's like, okay, you have a vocal injury or you're sore or whatever, just rest. Like there's not really the proper care and resources that are given to vocalists here. And so I think that was something that was a priority to me as well. I mean, there are some vocal coaches here in Edmonton and Alberta, and like, you know, that do the proper care and take care of the vocalists that they're working with. So I'm not, putting down anybody, but I definitely find as a whole, like in our healthcare system and all that stuff, doesn't put a priority on the professional singer world, because people think professional singer means some celebrity, right? Like they think Justin Bieber is a professional singer, but they're not really considering the musical theater artists. They're not considering the gigging musicians. They're not really thinking about the day-to-day professionals. They're thinking about the celebrity professionals, right? And they're kind of missing the mark a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel that that's the case in many countries across the world. But like, I think I've spoke to you before, like I only really discovered this whole world of like, you know, learning about contemporary singing and studying the voice and all this from a contemporary lens in the last 4 or 5 years. I didn't know it existed before then. Before that, it was like when I left school, it was musical theatre and classical, and that was it. But with the likes of like Vocology In Practice, and there's like other voice forums that are popping up across the world, really, and different workshops and webinars, and people are starting to show more of an interest in that side of things, like the vocal rehabilitation and all that side of things, and about the anatomy and how it works, and kind of how we can strengthen our voices and that kind of thing. So I think it's starting to seep out. You know, it might be starting with like the pop and rock singers, but like I feel that's going to start seeping out into the musical theatre world and other areas as well in time. It takes time.
Yeah. And I think the crossover that's difficult to happen is, or what will be difficult is, there is a bit of a mindset shift that needs to happen for in the musical theater and classical world. And that is that it's okay to explore sounds. And I think there's a little bit of a, oh no, like you don't want to hurt yourself. I've worked with so many vocalists that have come in with this, like, the fear of like injuring themselves, injuring their voice, and just kind of, and not that like we do want to take care of our voice, but just the approach is fear-based instead of care-based, you know, like, and so it's like, okay, we can care for our voice. We can explore distorted sounds. We can explore our voice and still be caring for our voice. You know, it doesn't mean that you're abandoning care and just going to do whatever and hurt your voice. You know, there are ways to go about it. So I think that shift of mindset in the musical theater world, at least where I am, needs to happen a little bit more. The musical theater and classical world need to shift into the world of being able to explore your voice and just have a deeper understanding of how it works. You know, I think there's just some outdated information out there that I do think the world is catching up though. Like, I think there are a lot of people that are like, oh, what's this straw thing? And I'm like, yeah, it's only been around for a while now. Like, and still the straw is a new thing for people. Right. And I'm still teaching singers that have never heard of the straw, who have taken theater programs, who have taken these things. And I'm like, this isn't new. And it's not, it's not a diss, but it isn't new. This isn't a new tool, you know. This is a great resource for singers who are gigging or doing musical theater shows on a regular basis, you know. And so the world is like the theater world and the classical world, I think, is catching up to that. I think they have different demands as well. Yeah. The classical singers will have different demands. And so I don't know if I can really speak into classical as much, because I think that is a different kind of beast in its own. But for musical theater, I think they could catch up a little bit more to the contemporary world.
So what advice would you give to anyone who is maybe doing a musical theatre degree in university, or just someone who's working in the area, who doesn't know much about what other options there are to learn more about their voice and how to care for their voice, and where would you direct them?
Well, I think finding, you know, there are a lot of voice teachers out there that are part of Vocology In Practice. I think that's a great place to start, is finding the right vocal coach for you. And that might take a bit of juggling that might take a little bit of, you know, trial and error as well. You might find this person is good with this, but I don't really like this or whatever. And that's totally fine. You know, you're going to jive with some voice coaches and you're not going to jive with others. So that's totally normal. But I think the biggest thing is, like, if you go to Vocology In Practice on their website, and you should be able to find a whole list of singers, and you can find a list, of vocal coaches, and you can pick through that, maybe somebody that's in your area, or they don't have to be in your area, because you and I are working together, and you're in Ireland and I'm in Canada, right? Like, the internet is wonderful. So it's a great tool for us. So I think finding a teacher that has some vocology base is super beneficial. I think they have a well-rounded approach. My my advice for a singer would be to try to stay away from voice coaches that, this sounds bad, but that are only teaching one method.
Yeah.
One, I don't think one method works for all. You know, if you're doing yoga and voice, that is a wonderful practice. Keep doing that, but you might want to add something else to that.
Yeah.
If you're focusing on a still, there are some limitations to that as well. So finding a voice coach that has an overall understanding of the different methods, and maybe they weren't certified in those methods, but having an understanding. And I feel like what I like about Vocology in Practice is it's not like, this is the method, follow this. It's like, hey, this is what we do with posture. And this is what this person is saying about this. And this is what this person is saying about this. And this is what this still teacher says about this. And this is what this speech level singing teacher talks about this. So it's not like a method. So I would encourage a vocalist to find somebody who's well-rounded and doesn't necessarily teach one specific method, because if that method doesn't work for you, you're not going to work well. You're not going to grow well with that teacher. So
yeah, like looking for somebody who's kind of continually upskilling, someone who's not just going to accept that what they know is what they know, somebody who's curious and who's, you know, signing up to courses to learn about X, Y, and Z, because you do take a little bit from each different school of thought, I suppose. And, you know, it's kind of along the lines of like everyone has a different like learning method. You know, some people are more visual, some people are more kinesthetic or whatever. And with the voice, I think it's the same. It's like about finding something that just clicks with you and helps you unlock what you're trying to achieve. And I think what you said is like a really good suggestion of just finding someone who has, you know, a little bit of a few things, because then you have more options to play with.
And a communication style that you connect with, you know, if that, you know, a lot of teachers have Instagram accounts and have, you know, you have more access to seeing teachers before even meeting them.
Yeah.
And so if you're interested in a teacher, see what they have online, see how they talk, see how they behave, you know, and it's not out of a judgment place, but it's out of like, is this a person that's like me? Like, do I connect with this person? Because that's also really important, is finding like, okay, I could jive with this person. I'm going to connect with them and see if I can have them as a coach, right? Because they might be an incredible teacher, but you also want to see if that personality connects with your personality. You know, it voice coach is so much more than just somebody that helps you sing, you know, so it's important to find somebody that you really connect with.
Because the voice is like, the voice is so, it's not just singing, it's about mind, body and soul. And, you know, your emotions affect how your voice sounds. Your health affects how your voice sounds. You know, whether you're tired, whether you've been drinking enough water, all these things. But it also, if you don't connect with that person on just a personal level, then you might not get as much from them. You know, so it's just like to find someone who you connect with on a personal level as well. And yeah, I would say like as well, just, you know, working with a few different coaches, you know, work with someone for a few months and then try someone else and, you know, learn from the different people, because everyone has like slightly different backgrounds.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And they can contribute different information for you and that kind of stuff too. And can unlock different things in your voice that maybe the other teacher couldn't. I think it's important to stick with somebody for a good amount of time. I think some singers will just try one person and they'll try somebody else and they'll try somebody else. And like, for sure, if you definitely feel like that person, you don't connect with them, don't bother continuing to take lessons from them. But I do think if you want to see results, like you can get results in the first lesson, like that's happened lots, but you also need to take the time to go on that journey with your voice coach, because your voice coach is also getting to know you. And getting to know your voice at the same time as you getting to know them. And And so giving a little bit of time for that to settle, to see if it works too, is important.
Yeah, definitely. Stick with it. Like if it's feeling good and it's feeling right and you're having some success, and stick with it and see how far you can take it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you left theatre school, what did you go on to do next? What was your next step?
Yeah. So right after theater school, I got engaged. So, which was wonderful. I'm still with him. Yay.
It worked.
Yay. It was good. But after theater school, I did get engaged, but I also, from there worked for a Royal Caribbean cruise line. So cool. I sang, on a ship that, we went to like the Bahamas and stuff. So that was really cool. It was really difficult because I was, in love and all that stuff. So, the long distance kind of thing didn't work very well for us. So I did one contract because that was it was just a little bit too hard on our relationship in that sense, right? Like long distance is tough for a lot of people. So, but as a performer, it was a fantastic job. Like I loved every minute of singing, and it was basically the combination of the things I love. I really love to sing and dance. Like those are the parts of theater that I really love. Mm-hmm. And those were cruise ships. You're dancing all the time and you're singing a variety of styles of songs. Unless you're doing like going on a ship and you're doing Grease or you're doing a specific musical, but I was doing more of a review show. So you were doing Aretha Franklin, and then you're doing something from an old movie, or so you're doing a variety of styles, which I always gravitated to. I love being able to use my voice differently for different songs. So that's I did that contract. And then after coming back and getting married and stuff, but through being here back home, I just did some musicals in my city, and I probably did musicals kind of back to back for a few years, and and kind of just moved out of that almost naturally. Like it wasn't ever really a decision like today I'm not doing musical theater. It just kind of naturally progressed into something else.
And this was all like paid work, like obviously the cruise ship stuff was, but the musical theater was more than just like your local musical society, I'm assuming.
Some was community theater, and some was more like what do you call it?
Professional
but it not profit share type of shows. So you would do a show and like the profit share, whatever I think is what it's called. The
profit is split between the people involved.
So I did more of those kind of productions. And but and I think like even after that I was still very much like just wanted to sing more, and I was always finding like, I'm doing this musical, I'm rehearsing for however many days and all that stuff, and I'm singing one song, and that's not enough for me. And it wasn't like I didn't want to be greedy in the shows and stuff. It's just like I just wanted to sing all the time, and I still, if I can sing all day every day, like that's what I want to do. Like I just want to sing all the time. So I think that was just something where I was like, okay, like this isn't quite enough for me. The time commitment, I just wasn't really feeling, I guess, as fulfilled as I thought I would.
Can I ask, if it's okay, that about how life as a musician, as a professional musician, changed after you had kids?
Oh,
I'm just wondering how that shapes your career.
Yeah. So actually, funny thing. So in the middle of like transitioning from doing theater, I stopped doing theater. Also, this is another topic, but I think it's important to mention. I am a Christian. And so I was starting to do roles that were I felt like compromising for myself. I was getting cast continually in, the slutty role or the promiscuous role. Okay. And I was just sort of like, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. Like I was really feeling like I was compromising something of myself when I was taking part in those productions. So that was another reason why I started to just transition a little bit. And so around the same time, I was transitioning into singing in a cover band and singing just for events and just getting contract work, like freelance vocalist. As I was transitioning into that role, I actually got pregnant. So the transition, like my career as a vocalist, I've always had my son, basically. So I don't know anything different than having a kid. Yeah. I am very blessed to have a husband that has a steady job. Yeah. Because I think for a lot of musicians or performers, sometimes that, you're married to another performer. And so the consistency and the stability isn't always there. Yeah. But my husband's an engineer. He has a very stable position and job. So I was able to stay at home during the days with my son and then gig in the evenings because my husband was home in the evenings. So it worked out really well for us. We were able to balance. And I've never felt like it was ever a difficult thing, really. Like it
seems like it kind of just fitted into place for you.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have fit if I continued with theater. It just wouldn't have worked. But doing events on weekends or singing at whatever, this jazz night, okay, I'll sing there. Or, oh, you're singing at this gala. Okay, I'll sing there. Right. And you're rehearsing still, but you're not rehearsing every night. You're not rehearsing every day. You're not performing every day or every night. You're performing once or twice a week, or that's a good week. Sometimes you're performing once every couple weeks. So it really worked, balancing with teaching and balancing with just home life.
Because I just noticed that, like, over here, I know a lot of female musicians who are having kids a lot later or not having kids at all. And, like, not that I've talked to them all personally about it, but I wonder if that's partly down to the lifestyle that you live when you're a musician, because, work, you have to go when the work comes. It's not like always a regular thing. It's like, it's kind of harder to plan things. I just was curious to ask you about that, but it seems like it kind of just worked out for you.
Yeah. I have, I only have one kid, which might make it easier, but I do have a friend that she's the one that sings in the band with me as well. And she has 3 kids and she makes it work as well. And it's, coordinated with her husband and also her mom. And, people want to chip in to help you. Like, your loved ones want to help you and want to see your kids. Like, it's not like it's not a burden to your family to spend time with your children. I think some people worry that it is. It isn't. Your family is usually really, aside from COVID time, wanting to, well, they still want to, but they have
they're happy to spend time with them.
They're happy to spend time with the kids, right? And they want to visit. So we also have like a really good, like a good family system of parents and stuff that also come alongside and care for our son when we need him. So
that's
or
lovely.
We need them to. Yeah. So I think if you are wanting to have kids or you're wanting to move in that direction and theater, it's important to have a connection of a team of people that are going to help raise your kid,
support system.
And and raise your kid. I mean, we all influence the children. So like, that community to kind of help.
Was there, I don't know who said it. Is there a saying that goes, it takes a town to raise a kid or something like that?
Yeah, there is something like that. I don't know what it's from or where something. It takes a village or I don't know. Yeah. But it's true though. Like it does make a difference and it is important. And so I really feel for those moms that, might be living in London and don't have their family in the same city as them, and stuff like that. Like that is a difficult thing. So, I can see why people make different choices, and so it's really up to you what you feel like works with your balance and stuff. So
can I ask you, because we chatted a little bit yesterday about kind of today and stuff, and you mentioned kind of in passing about your students and kind of the need to be a jack of all trades in a sense and to be able to sing multiple genres. And I'm wondering how important you think that is. And can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. I think, well, for myself, I have found that to be super important. I have found that as a freelance vocalist or a vocalist that's just hired for gigs here and there, I'm hired more because I can do more.
Mm.
You know, if someone needs a jazz singer, well, I wouldn't say I'm a jazz singer, but I can sing jazz, so I get hired.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody wants somebody to do like a 60s rock show. Sure, I'll do a 60s rock show. Oh, last year I did a Broadway themed show. Sure, I'll sing Defying Gravity. You know, you want to be able to have the ability to sing all these genres. If you're a vocalist like that, it's really, really helpful. And it's really helpful to have those kind of tools as a musical theater vocalist as well. So I guess elaborating on being a jack of all trades, it's just spending time exploring the different genres of music with your voice and how you can shape your vowels and how you can make those sounds that are suited to that style and still be you, like you're not copying anybody. You're not imitating anyone. You're just exploring your voice and how your voice can make the sounds in those different genres.
Yeah, because obviously in music college and university, that's what they do. They take you through all the genres and they get you to study into that genre for a semester, and you study the different vocalists and artists, and you learn from those artists, and there is a certain amount of mimicry involved, but I think somewhere between you doing your own thing and kind of mimicking in with the intent to learn from them, you do find your own voice, because you kind of go, oh, I can do that. I wonder, could I do more? Or I wonder, could I change it a bit? And then you can find your own voice. But for singers who aren't in that university environment, yeah, I think it definitely is important to take time to just study artists. So like, you know, I don't know, give yourself a few weeks or a couple of months or whatever, and like pick an artist and study them, or a few artists in a genre, and, you know, see can you make yourself sound like them, and then see can you put your own twist on it. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I think with depending on the type of student I have, I have students that come in, you know, periodically, but students that might be more regular and are just focusing on working on their voice. They might not have a show that they're working on. They're just working on just consistently growing. And so students that come with that kind of mindset and availability, I guess, I tend to suggest different materials. So we'll work on, like, this one student was continually working on like a U2 kind of sound. Like he was singing U2, and that was great. And we were both like, yes, that's awesome. Now let's do Frank Sinatra. And so we did some Frank Sinatra, which is a very different sound and a very different quality. And it was just like, yeah, let's play with that. And we're both like, yeah, like let's explore these sounds. And so that's a really great way, is just to cover different material and play with that. And through that, I guide them in that genre. You know, you're not on your own figuring out how to sing that genre. It's like we work on, okay, how do we make these vowels warmer? How do we make these brighter? And just playing with the different attributes that are involved in that style. And you and I have done that with rock music, and what's okay, like what is distortion? What is growl? What is, you know, rattle? What are these sounds? And how do we explore them? And how do we color our songs with them in that genre?
Yeah, because I feel that like sometimes singers, or students anyway, get stuck in a genre that they feel comfortable in, I suppose. And, you know, even if they don't intend to sing Frank Sinatra or whatever the genre is, you know, they don't think that they're going to end up doing that. It's good to kind of explore that part of your voice, because it makes you you're more valuable to an employer. So we were talking a little bit about the difference between like songwriter singers and kind of professional freelance vocalists. And I suppose obviously, you know, the difference is that like a freelance vocalist needs to be a bit more versatile, or at least you have more job options open to you if you can be, because you're going to get booked for things like playing in event bands, or maybe doing like sync work, like voiceover work. Maybe, I don't know, backing someone up on a live gig, or there's so many different things that you need to be able to mold yourself into. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about that kind of side of the work. Have you experienced much of that, or have your students experienced much of that type of work?
Yeah, I mean, I've done backing vocals for country singers. I am not a country vocalist. I mean, I'm in Alberta, which is like country music land in Canada. Like, it does not interest me whatsoever. I'm not into country. But there are so many great country artists, and there's so many great, you know, musicians out there. And so, yeah, I've been hired to do backing vocals for a country singer. So you kind of have to change a little bit of your vowels and stuff to suit and to blend with the singer, like the lead singer. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, that, and then I was like, within the same year, I sang Stairway to Heaven, and then I have to sing Defying Gravity. And then I have to sing a jazz set, and then I have to sing a country song, you know? And so it's like, we also had like a gig that was Woodstock themed, you know? And so you're kind of like, and so I was doing Janis Joplin, right? Or whatever. And so you're hired for all of these things. And I mean, I love that. I love to be able to do all the different sounds, but that is super crucial. I think, you know, it opens you up for a lot more opportunities. And when I'm looking to singers, you know, if there's an event that I can't do and I'm looking for somebody that could fill in for me, I'm looking for somebody that could do that genre, you know, and if it's the same person that I use all the time, I think even better. Like, you know, it seems kind of annoying, but you know, people want somebody they can rely on and they know will do a good job. So, I mean, from a practical perspective, it's not only important to be able to sing all these genres, but you have to be good to work with. You have to be on time. You have to be prepared. Like, obviously, all the wonderful things that are needed to be a good employee anywhere, still are super important in this setting, right? So people also want to be able to know that they can count on you. So that's a huge thing, especially as a gigging musician or vocalist. Like, people need to know that, oh, if I hire this girl for this event, she will be able to do a great job singing it. She'll be on time. She'll be kind to the sound technicians. She'll be, you know, like all of these things. Like, I know that she's potentially representing me, and that is, and I trust that, you know? So I think those are also really important. The difference, I think, for a songwriter is really finding their authenticity in their voice. And so singer-songwriters, it's almost like a different approach. You know, you're trying to find your sound. You're trying to find your identity, and you're trying to find your voice and the words that you're speaking. And so we work with a lot of songwriters too. But I always have a tendency to, even with songwriters, be like, let's explore this. Let's explore this sound, because there's some things that you just don't even realize could be a part of your voice that you could use to add texture or to add a way of communication in your song, like a different way of communicating in your song. Like, sometimes that grit in a song and just that right moment, even if that's not the genre you normally sing in, can communicate that part of the song that much better, right? So it's also finding those tools to help you as a communicator, because that's what you are as a songwriter, for sure.
Yeah, because we were talking yesterday about you know, different vocalists that kind of use edge or grit or growl, all those things in their singing. And you mentioned, like, you know, we were working on a Led Zeppelin song, but you mentioned about Beyonce, like, you know, and she has like the smoothest, silkiest voice ever, but she is able to access any voice quality she wants, she can access, and that's so impressive.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah. And she'll use that, she'll use that growl and grit in moments that are necessary. Like some of her big aggressive type songs, she uses more of aggressive vocal qualities, right? And it's just so important to have those tools, I think, and it doesn't matter what genre you sing. I think trying to have the tools to make your voice sound sweet, warm, bright, dark, like play with your voice. Try not to get set in a specific way of singing.
Yeah, like, cause even like, I'd say if you pick any singer that the first singer that comes into your head as a listener, like go and listen to them singing live, like look at live gigs, and you'll probably find that maybe they don't necessarily use it in the recording, but live they probably do access a lot more voice qualities than they would in a recording, and sometimes the recordings are a little bit unrealistic to try and mimic.
Oh yeah.
It's better to go and watch the person singing the song live, as opposed to the radio version, because that's going to be polished and all the rest, and that's not always how it sounds live. So don't compare yourself to those recordings.
Yeah, it's so hard, I think, for singers to hear all of these super produced vocals and then give themselves that expectation that they have to sound like that, and yeah, it isn't really realistic. And also just in general, comparing yourself with like Ariana Grande is not really a good call, like she's a unique individual with a unique voice and a unique sound. And she's been training since she was like 10. Sometimes we forget that, but she did a Broadway show when she was like 11 or 12. I don't even know how old she was. Right. But so granted, like she probably was taking lessons even before that. Right.
Yeah.
So, I think it's really easy to compare yourself with another vocalist in the process of trying to learn and mimic. So it's just really important to kind of learn and play and hear what that vocalist is doing, but not compare yourself in a way that's putting yourself down. Like you have something unique to offer.
Can you hear my dog barking? Oh dear. Have you done any recording work? Have you done much kind of, work in the studio?
Yeah, I've done some kind of demo type things and backing vocals and recording stuff for myself, like just for fun. But yeah, I've done some work where it's like more like backing vocal work, probably not for anybody that anyone knows really, but I can't say I did backing vocals for Michael Jackson. No, I didn't do anything like that. But yeah, like here I've recorded, done some backing vocals for different artists here in my city, and an ensemble kind of work as well.
Yeah, and so you're in an event band. Is it Uptown? Is that what the name of the band?
Yeah, Uptown. Yeah.
And this is it's an event band, so you play weddings and lots of different events. And you guys, like, if anyone wants to check their page, I'll pop the links underneath the event. But you guys seem to have a very polished look. Like it seems like a very thought out kind of image that you're projecting. It's very kind of like Motown disco, but like glamorous at the same time. There's a lot of sequins and but very sophisticated and cool as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I feel like
a bunch of dorks, but that's great.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe you don't want to let your dorkiness out at someone's wedding.
We do.
Which is maybe why you get booked, because you're being yourself. But I'm just wondering, do you guys sit down as a team and kind of make those decisions about marketing, and how important is that when you're working in an event band?
Yeah. Okay. So event bands, it's usually it starts off with a bunch of musicians are just like, hey, let's have a band. Let's do some gigs. Right. But we just saw that we had something special. And Ariana, the other vocalist with me, we noticed that we had a lot of chemistry and a lot of similar ways of performing. Like we we both had a very similar background as vocalists. You know, she worked for Royal Caribbean for years. Like the singer, dancer, performer, entertainer was just a part of us. Like to us, entertaining people is important. It's not just about singing the songs and covering the songs and making them sound good. Like you also are engaging people, and you're trying to give them the best night of their life. Like you're trying to give them a night that they're going to remember and say that was so much fun. And so part of that is us just being ourselves and goofing off. Like, part of that is, you know, I think it sort of naturally became what it is. We both had that kind of same energy, same performance style. We really liked, we think visually it's really important how we look. We want that blend of, we've always loved sequins, but we also want, sequins was a big thing right from the get-go. So everything has sequins. Like we're always wearing sequins.
I love that.
Which is fun, right?
Yeah. But
we always try to do it in a way that's not as, like there's a combination of it being professional, but like we wear sneakers instead. Or we try to have this combination of it being professional, but also really just a good time. Like
down to earth.
Yeah. Like we want to be approachable. So we get really silly. We have lots of fun on stage. We throw our bodies around. We have choreography for some of our songs. Like we focus on the dancing and the performance side of things. So we just really try to put on a show, and the balance of that, putting on a show, but also engaging and actually communicating and with the crowd as well. So I think, sorry, you were asking about marketing and that kind of stuff. And so what we always try to portray is that if you hire us, you're going to have a good night. Like it's going to be a good party.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really well done. Your clients will be entertained. They will hear really great musicians, really tight musicians, and really tight vocals. Like we rehearsed before the pandemic. We rehearsed every week. And this is 7 years into our band, and we still rehearse every week. And it's because we want to make sure that every time that we are doing a gig, everything that we are putting out there is always the best we possibly can. And I think that's where a lot of party bands fall short, is that they just throw it together. They're like, whatever, we did it last week, we don't need to improve. So that's just a huge priority to us, is to continually improve, add music or add songs to our set lists that are new, add medleys. Like we like to make medleys. But yeah, I think it's just your mindset is like treating it like it's a professional thing, you know? And I think some people don't, they kind of are like, whatever. We're just a cool party band. And, which is great, but you have to have some thought into it and how you want to be portraying and representing yourself as a band.
Yeah, I feel like everything you've said, even about this like goofiness and silliness and just kind of like fun-lovingness, I think that you can tell that from looking at your Instagram page, like, because your photos are not just, you know, you're not just standing there, you're
like,
kind
look
of
how cool I am
around and there's a little bit of like, I'm so cool, and a little bit of like, let's like mess, just like, and kind of and that's cool. And I think that's what people do at events too. They mess and have fun, and like they're not all professional dancers on the dance floor. Like they're just being goofy and like.
Exactly. And that's just something that we find is, it's just super important to us. Like we want people to feel like they can be comfortable, because a lot of times people don't feel comfortable to go to the dance floor. So if they see us doing like super ridiculous, they're like, oh, they're weirdos. I can be weird now too. You know, we want to create an environment, really, because we're part of creating the atmosphere and the environment. So we want to create an environment where people feel comfortable to just let loose, really just to let loose and have fun, however way that looks like for them. If that looks like they're going to break dance, great. If that looks like they're just going to do finger guns the whole night, great. You know, like you want them to just feel comfortable just being themselves.
Yeah, that's a great. a great philosophy, I suppose, in what you're doing, because you're just making people feel like they can just be themselves, which is really cool. And do your band members, like, do the musicians also like do the dance moves and stuff like that as well, or is it kind of more down to the two females?
Yeah, we tend to do like most of the choreography, and we kind of focus a lot of that energy. We still like goof off as a band, like we'll be kind of silly as a band, but they're not dancers. They're not like super into that kind of stuff. But there are times when we've like choreographed some like guitar movements and stuff like that. That's not really dancey, but engages a bit of that unified choreography. But they don't do the actual like dancing and stuff, but there's still that engagement, right?
I think that's really important. No matter what the band is, unless depending on if you're an artist, like depending on the type of music you're doing. But like if you're kind of an upbeat band that you're trying to get people to dance, I think it's really important that even if the guys that are standing behind the singers are not going to do up the full choreography, that they are engaging in some way. Do you know, because your eyes are drawn to different instruments and different songs sometimes. Yeah. Do you know, whoever's playing. So I think it is important for them to kind of to join in to an extent. And like, even as you said, like doing like slight little guitar movements or whatever, like those little things just is like the cherry on top, I think, especially for like the likes of what you're doing. Yeah,
totally. And it's just important to kind of find those moments that they would feel comfortable doing too, right? Because they're not movers. They're not really those kind of guys. So it's like, okay, like let's find a way to engage and to have fun together that they feel also confident and comfortable doing.
I love that.
Because we are very much like like we are like super high energy, like the two girls were super high energy and all that. So I think it's sort of like like we're kind of all over the stage and stuff. So it can be like, okay, sorry guys, almost hit you in the face there, you know, like you have to like, okay.
But that can be fun to watch as well. You know, even if it's a little like kind of sloppy almost, that can be kind of like, it's just real. It's just kind of real, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we try to have that balance of it, looking professional and having those professional, really, really tight moments. And then having those like just free moments.
Do you work out? Do you keep fit?
Pandemic? No, I have not been working out, but yes, usually I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's an important factor when you're doing something like what you're doing is to be fit, stay healthy?
100%. It totally is. I notice those gigs that, you know, I haven't been, especially cardio. I mean, it's really important to be strong. And so I do like to do more of like strength training and that kind of stuff, but it is important to be able to handle cardio, especially for a high energy dance kind of party band. Like there have been sets of music where we've probably jumped the entire time. Like we're jumping up and down.
Dancing and singing is hard.
And so we're dancing and singing and jumping up and down pretty much the whole set. And so it's like, you don't want to go halfway. Like you want to be able to give your all and it not compromise your vocals or compromise what you're doing either. So you have to be in shape. I think you have to have the ability to slow your heart rate down and like to be able to keep up with that. But I've noticed recently, I'm like, wow, I can't do that anymore because I just haven't. I've stuck with like more long walks because I needed that for my brain. During the pandemic, you know, I've been doing more like yoga and just more calming exercises, which were super necessary. But I just started rowing again and stuff like that. Cause I'm like, okay, I need to I haven't sweat. When was the last time I really got my sweat on? Like, I don't know. So it is really important.
Do you ever vocalize while you're working out or doing some kind of physical movement? Do you know the way to help build up that ability to sing and dance at the same time and do it safely?
Yeah. So I think, I'm not super confident doing that at the gym, but at home I have like a rowing machine. And so I will, I mean, you're sitting, so it's a little bit different, but you're using your entire body when you're rowing and you're
Mm-hmm.
using your arms. And so you have to like, it's a different way of cardio and singing than it would be if you're like jogging.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I do. I just try to sing through the songs and just feel them out really. But the best workout for me was just gigging. Like when we were gigging all the time, like you're getting in shape, you're jumping up and down, you're dancing, you're doing that over and over again, and you're singing while you're doing it. And so over time, you just kind of get used to that setting. You know, your body can handle it, your voice can handle it. But now that there's been this kind of dead land for performers and for musicians right now, that's something that we've kind of I've kind of been like, oh man, like I've got nothing now. Like I really got to work this up again so that, you know, hopefully when things open up again, that I can
to go.
that like once that first gig that I'm not like dying. You know, I'm like, like I need to make sure that like I can like
they're carrying you out with the event.
The trolley, take me out.
So like you teach full time, or that's kind of your main stream of income at the minute, and your studio is One Voice Vocal Studio. So what I've noticed, like over lockdown, you started creating content and kind of putting up some videos and doing some Facebook Live stuff. How have you found adapting to that content creation side of selling your product?
Yeah. So we did notice a big drop in students over the pandemic. You know, I think it's just too hard for people to commit to also taking lessons, you know, when we're not really sure where the world is at and all that stuff. So it kind of forced me to think a little bit outside of the box. We did have some online lessons already, you know, teaching some people that don't live in the same city as us already. So that transition wasn't that difficult. You know, transitioning to Zoom lessons we kind of already knew how to do some of that. I mean, there are ways that we could tighten it up for sure, but we've kind of figured out that part of that transition. But moving on to the Instagram and all of that kind of stuff, I just spent hours and hours reading up on how to do it properly and like how to be more strategic with it. And I'm definitely just in the experimental stage right now, still a lot of trial and error and just seeing like, does this work? So I love to learn. So I think at first I was super excited about it because I was like, cool, I'm going to like, you know, learn more about this, because before we would only post stuff and it was like, oh, we have this event or we're doing this, you know, and it wasn't strategic in the sense of like how to gain, like the right audience and how to have people, you know, gaining from looking at your material, you know, because for us, it was really just another means of communication for our students. Like it wasn't really something that was like a marketing system for us. It was just like, hey, this is what we're doing this week, guys. Like it wasn't really something that was about expansion, I guess.
Yeah.
So that transition is just a lot of trial and error. So it can be really, really frustrating. Instagram can be
editing is very time consuming.
And reels are just a pain in the butt. Really. They have a lot of like, there's 3 different dimensions for different views and different, like, it's just, and then like they sometimes just randomly delete and then you have to start all over again. And it's like, just really frustrating little glitches that happen in some of their newer things that Instagram offers. So it's like working through those glitches and not wanting to tear my hair out, you know, it's like that combination of like, I want to put this out there, but you're making it difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the transition into that, like I love that kind of stuff. Like I love to create content. Like I like being able to create videos and I want to do more of that kind of stuff. But there has been a lot of, oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work. You know, there's a lot of that happening right now. And some things are improving and some things I'm like, oh, that still didn't work. It's like the fourth time I've done it and it still doesn't work. Whatever it is that I did there didn't work, or the sound went really funny there, or, there's just so many variables. So working through that has been a bit of a challenge for sure. And it's hard to see the benefit at this point. So I think we're still pretty early on in this journey of trying to be creating more content and being more engaging, I guess, on social media. So it's still a very early thing. So I don't know if it's working yet. I don't know if we're succeeding yet, but
I don't know if it needs to work straight away though. I think it's about because I started doing videos myself, like at the start of lockdown too, like just really basic on my phone, like and even just getting used to talking in front of the camera and stuff as well takes practice. But like nobody was really paying any attention to what I was putting up at the beginning. But like in a way, I was okay with that because I was only practicing and just seeing how I felt about it when it was out on the platform,
Yes.
And I think there's a certain amount of that. But I think like as you go on, your content will improve. You'll become more confident and more strategic, as you said, with it. And then when your audience does come to you, they'll go, oh, how have I been missing out on this page? Like there's like all this stuff and like it's really good quality, and and then you'll kind of have built it up then, instead of waiting for yourself to have thousands of followers and then all you're expected straight away to be brilliant. Like just, because I did that like at the end of the summer. Because I was afraid to be putting stuff up, and even some of the videos I put up on my website, but they're only available if you go on my website, which nobody really does. So they're not actually on YouTube, they're like on unlisted.
Yeah. I know that. I get that. I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just like, I just said to myself, if I don't start and don't try and start building it up, I'm never going to get better, and then I won't be ready when the crowds come,
It's true. It's true. You have to prepare yourself. And something that I guess a question I always have is that, like, as I'm giving out content, it's really easy to think, like, did I say that correctly? Did I, like, as a teacher, it's really easy to be like, oh, well, does this go against this thought? Or does it, like, was I too, like, it's this way or that way, because there's so many variables, so a lot of times I go back and I'm like, oh, well, like, if another voice teacher watched this, what would they think? And not in like a bad way necessarily, but it was something that I was like, I want to make sure that even a voice coach would be able to, not even, but a voice coach and somebody that knows a lot would gain benefit from this as well. That it's not just like that it can benefit voice coaches and vocalists, right? I mean, voice coaches are vocalists, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
though.
But it is a balance, because I do see online, you begin to follow more voice coaches and more other things that are similar, right? And I'm looking at a lot of stuff and I'm like, oh, like, I was going to post that next week, something almost exactly the same, and you're just like, all that stuff's like, oh, I just said that last week, or, you're like, oh, I was going to do that. And so it's really easy to be like, oh crap, like, I can't do it anymore because, well, that person did it. Like Gemma Sugru, or, and like, oh, I was going to do that, but that doesn't mean that what I'm going to do isn't valuable. Like, I have different audience, and so I think it's important to be like, that's great that they did that. I can also do that, and that you're not copying them. It's the same. Like, you might have the same idea. Yeah. That doesn't mean that it's not good anymore, and so that's something that I've had to be like, okay, like, just because I've seen other people do similar things doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. Like, I can do this because I'm a different person, and I know that people have appreciated the way that I've communicated something with them. And so I have different people that, yeah, like different people that connect with me. And that's important to help those people that can connect with me, but can't connect with somebody else, because those singers
Yeah.
still need to learn. And so it's really being able to, I guess, yeah, to allow yourself to, you can go through that thought process, but then come back to the fact that it's like, you know what, you still have something to offer. You still have a voice to share. And that goes with if you're doing covers or anything, like you still have something to offer. So put it out there. You're a different person. You're an individual.
Yeah.
So even if it's a cover of the same song that's been covered 500 billion times, it's still your interpretation of it. It's still valuable. So
Yeah, I was just kind of smiling because exactly what you said is the thought process I have been through over the last year about, oh man, I can't do that now because if I do that, if someone else puts it up, I'm like, they'll think I'm copying them or whatever. And like, there's been so many opportunities that I've not allowed myself to take because I've been like, oh, I can't do, like, I wanted to start a podcast since 2017, 18. And then I seen another voice coach starting these kind of like interview things on their Facebook page, and I was like, oh crap, now I can't do it because she'll think I'm copying her. I don't want to be disrespectful, and like I would have all these thoughts. And then in August gone, I was just like, do you know what? Exactly what you're saying, but also like I know that we can like log on to be with any teacher in anywhere in the world, but like, you know, a lot of my students are local students, like they're people who live in the area, like young kids and things like that, and teenagers. And you know, my content is like, at the minute, it's for them. It's like it's for them and for people like them who want to know more about me, who actually come looking to know more about me. Yeah, they might be able to get it on another page, but it doesn't matter. Like if they want to come and learn with me, like then they know how I present my information and they know how I present myself. You know, like just because someone else does it doesn't mean that they're going to be attracted to work with them. They might be attracted to my personality, do you know? So
yeah.
I was like, do
And
you know
this
what?
is
I'm not going to stop myself from putting myself out there now because of that anymore.
totally. And this is like what we were talking about earlier, like about people deciding which coach they want. If they see that you have a podcast, they're going to be like, oh, Rebecca has a podcast. Let me see if I could jive with her. Like, let me see if we connect. And like, oh yeah, I totally like her. I'm going to book a session with her because now I kind of know who she is, you know? And so, yeah, it's totally valuable. Even if it's not the content that they're listening for, it's the person, right? It's finding that person that feels like your person, right? Somebody that would be in your corner. And that's super important as a vocal coach. It's like, you want people to know that you care about them, because you do, like, and you're sharing content because you care. You want them to know how to navigate these topics, that, like the questions that you're asking me. If somebody faces a similar thing that I did, you want them to know how to, or what their options are, right? So it's because you care. And I think people appreciate that as well, like where it's coming from.
Yeah, it's like having a door, like a little window into like, I wonder what I'd be like to work with that person. Oh, they've been putting up these videos. Let's have a look and go, yeah, I like the vibe, you know? So I think for me at the minute, that's what the purpose of me putting up videos and doing my podcast for is. It's a little bit of that, of like letting people know who I am and letting people know, get to know me, do you know? So
totally.
Yeah.
I think that's for me, that's the same thing. Like our studio, we're trying to get, you know, people that don't know us already. Because right now the followers we have are people that have met us in person. We've worked with them. Like our following is small because it's very just like people that actually have connected with us, right? Already. So we're trying to break out of that. So it's people that don't know us yet that can maybe say, oh yeah, like I think I would like to work with her, you know, and people that are searching for vocal coaches. Like I don't want to be, it's not for people that are like, oh, I just, you know, I don't need a vocal coach. It's like, we are trying to help people see that we are the vocal coach for them. If that's what they think, right? Like, I want to find those people that want to do that. Right. So,
yeah, but that's how I ended up working with you. I think I ended up following each other after one of the VIP conferences.
Yeah.
I seen that you posted, you had like a poster for like a workshop on singing Edge. Yeah, singing. And I was like, that's something I've wanted to study for a while and I have never studied it. So then I was like, I listened to the little webinar or whatever you call it, and I was like, yeah, I like her vibe. And I remember like emailing the student, go, is it okay if I work with Erika, because she's the one who did the workshop? And
Yeah.
you know, it's because it was partly because I liked your vibe and I liked what you were offering, so
Yeah.
it works.
And that's just it. And there's so many things, like people want different approaches, right? And what I love about Joy is she really helps singers who are really struggling with insecurity and just being able to like just open themselves up. Like she just has this magic gift of like helping people feel so comfortable and secure. And so there are singers out there that really want that, they really want to connect with somebody that's going to be a really safe place. And so, there's just so many, there's so many things that you're a different person. Everybody's looking for something unique, and finding that person that really does fit is super important. But I think that was really cool. Cause I think like, I remember thinking that I was like, hey, this person is like booking a session because of something we posted on Instagram. And you're the first person that's connected through Instagram, I guess, right? Like, I mean, we were at an event together, but we didn't meet. We didn't talk at that event, but it's cool to think that, hey, something that we posted and we offered online was something that now we have this connection, and now we're doing this podcast, and who knows how this relationship will continue to grow. Right. And so that kind of stuff is super, super cool. Right. Like that's where you're like, that's neat. Like that is exciting to me. As
like,
well.
What year was it you went to the Vocology In Practice forum? What year was it you were there last?
It was the London one.
So it wasn't last year. It wasn't the year before. It was 3 years ago then. So it took 3 years for you to see a result from that networking opportunity. And although we didn't meet at the forum, we added each other somehow through probably different people.
Yeah, I think we had tagged the events, right? Like we had tagged stuff at the event, and
they shared
so seeing seeing those tags or whatever, then you end up sharing people that are in that same world, right? And but it's true, like you're saying, it does take time, and so that's something that I'm trying to, I have to remind myself, like okay, like this is a process, it's a journey, and maybe 2 years from now is where we'll see the fruit of these seeds that we're planting, and it does take time. So
I think as well, though, because of like lockdown and COVID and everything, we're literally, the internet is a window to what everyone is doing, and like, so now we can see what everyone else is doing. So in a way, we're kind of looking at ourselves going, ooh, now I need to probably be a bit more proactive, because there's more competition now because of the online scene, and I hate that word. I really hate that word. But at the end of the day, that's what it is. And although like, we were talking about like, picking a coach that you're going to vibe with or whatever, not everyone knows that they have the option to do that, especially like younger kids and stuff like that, or, so like they just go with whoever they see or whatever, that kind of thing. But I think because the internet is like showing us what everyone else is doing now, it's like a lot of pressure. I find it to be a lot of pressure anyway.
Yeah. There is definitely a love-hate relationship that I have with social media. For sure. It's definitely something where I'm like, okay, like this, I know this can be beneficial, but right now I really don't like it. And so it's just kind of, finding those ways to be like, okay, like I know I'm giving something that hopefully will benefit somebody right now. And then I leave it at that. And that's my priority, is just like, okay, like how can I provide content that is going to help the singer on the other end? And that's kind of the only thing I can think about right now. And I know we should have goals, and I know we should have all these things, but right now it's like,
should we though?
Yeah. Should. Yeah.
I'm not necessarily all about being so strict with like goal setting and things like that. I do believe in kind of the power of attraction and that side of things. So I do believe in like, write down what your wants and hopes and wishes are, and, try and act towards that and see what happens. But I think not everyone works that way. Not everyone is so strategic and methodical and planned out. And I think it's really important to try and find a way to stay connected with who you are outside of your work. Like, you know, go for walks in nature, spend time with your loved ones, read, like learn about something, have a hobby that's not to do with music, you know? Like, I think it's important to like not to get too caught up in like you're just the vocal coach or you're just the singer who has to be online like all these other people, and you're kind of comparing yourself, even though we say we don't want to, but we do. You know? Like, try and find a way to stay connected with who you are.
And I think through like with that too, you can prioritize in a way, right? Like you can, like what I was saying about the posts, it's like, I can make sure that my focus is, okay, like I know I'm wanting to help the singer on the other end. So that's what I'm going to do with this. And then you can leave it alone and spend time walking or doing something else, right? You can, you can, there's so much like pressure that we do put on ourselves for all of this stuff. So it's really good to just be like, okay, the goal, like make not necessarily goal setting, but like my intention, intention and purpose with this specific thing is to offer some help. Cause that's what I am. I'm a voice coach and that's what I want to do. So at least on that platform, that's what I want to do is offer vocal coaching, and vocal help. And then that's the purpose. It's not about getting however many followers. It's not like, cause to me, I mean, I don't even care how many followers I have. It's more about like having people that want to have this content, want to engage and learn from that.
Quality
learn
over
from
quantity.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's probably a nice place to wrap it up. Nice little positive ending.